board meeting of Thursday, September 15th. And the first item on our agenda is public comment, and we're going to lead off with Mr. Bigelow.
Thank you. I'll just make a comment and then follow on from home, but I noticed that the MS1 signature is on the agenda, and I think what that means is you guys are supposed to sign off on maybe an update from last MS1, and I just wanted to submit the chart, mainly the chart. The Excel sheet is more detailed than you'd want to get into right now, but I'm trying to follow the recent sales and compare to the assessed values that have been done last year. And it seems like the sales, the dots on that chart are in pairs. Each one on the x-axis is an assessed value and a sales value for different properties, or appraised. And what a pattern I see is that there's a big gap between the appraised value and the sales value, especially in the higher end properties. And I know when Todd presented his information last year, he was saying the lower end properties were going to be hit harder for increases in taxes. And I just thought this might show a light that we might not have seen before. So for your consideration.
Okay, we thank you very much. And
Okay
that's,
for me to ask some
Sure.
questions? What period of time does this chart represent?
From September 2021 until last month.
It's in the title.
No,
Was it? Oh, you changed.
Sorry, I
it.
didn't, I guess I didn't print it off.
9/1/21
Just
to
gives the
present.
date.
Yeah, sorry,
9/21 to present.
sorry.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
And so, looking at this, one thing that jumps out is that in almost every case, with I think maybe 2 or 3 exceptions, the sales price exceeds the appraised value by a significant amount or by some amount.
Especially on the
So
expensive.
when you do, I don't know, maybe you haven't done this, but when you do an analysis of this, is the percentage of excess, is it the case that that in the higher end properties, the percentage of excess is greater than it is in the lower end properties?
Yeah, I tried to show that on the Excel sheet, and I broke, on the bottom of the Excel sheet, it might be on the second page, there's a breakdown of the top properties over 500,000 and properties less than 500,000.
Yeah, I see the
And I
line.
showed the difference, the percentage discrepancy between the appraised value and the sales values.
So on average, I see. So it's 27% versus 45% is what? on
Yeah,
average.
and also what is significant is how much tax dollars it amounts to, because it's like, I think it was like something like, was it 164,000 tax dollars that would have been added, or I guess it would have reduced our tax rate a little bit,
Yeah.
had they been.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you very much,
Yeah.
we appreciate that.
thank you.
And we will certainly study it further. Do we have we have several public here with us? Mr. Brown?
I just wanted to say what a nice note it was on the list inviting people to the listening session for the Lyme Common.
Oh, thank you.
Nicely publicized. We talked, you talked about when to do it, and that's a great time. So thank you.
very much, appreciate that. A pat on the back for everybody. Phoebe?
I'd like to follow on with that, Karen Keene and I have had a little chat and think that we might be able to help moderate and collect data from people. Just, like with sticky notes and pens, let people share their ideas, and then we could compile them afterwards, so you'd actually have some product to look at, to think about afterwards when you get all the ideas from the group,
Huh,
whoever shows up.
That's an interesting thought. I'm gonna have to ponder that a little bit, but I appreciate the offer.
Well, a moderator doesn't have an opinion, they just try to make sure that everybody is heard.
Right,
And then you don't want a meeting that has what you say is like no legs. You want to be able to have something to think about afterwards.
well, what we're gonna think about are the comments that are made.
Exactly, and I was just saying a way to capture them is like everybody can quietly write on stickies their ideas. and not have to have everybody talk or try to find times to talk, and have people repeat what others have said. It's a good way to get
Well,
efficient.
they'll do that anyways.
I was just gonna,
Well,
I
they
was
will.
going to say that.
Well, they will, but if people see that it's been said and have a chance to write it on a sticky as a way to share their information and ideas.
Okay, appreciate the offer. I have to ponder that for a little bit, but I really appreciate it. Thank you. And I know time is running short, but it always seems to be these days.
Oh, I mean, it's a run down to Staples for supplies.
And
Doesn't
on the
take
time
a-
of day can take a long time.
It doesn't take a lot of planning to do that kind of.
All right, thank you. And Jim, do you have anything for us?
Just here to watch you open the bids, Judy.
Okay.
Same with me.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay.
Anybody online?
It says Judith. I don't know who the Judith is, but
Who's online, please, with us with Zoom this morning? And then
Morning, it's Judith Timchula.
Thank you. Did you wish to speak to us in the public session?
No, thank you.
Okay, very good. Then, we will go, should we wait these next 3 minutes? Does anybody, well, we're not gonna get any late bids.
no, you can't. The deadline's gone.
It's gone. So why don't we go move right into opening the fire station solar project bids?
Okay,
Dina, lead the way.
so the first is Hyperon.
Before we get into that, was there a complication with the solar and
Yes.
the frequency of the radio and whatnot?
There might be, and so we're going to review what's in the bids, see what measures people have proposed to try and mitigate that. And talk to our fire chief and just see if there's any way to move forward or not, so. But yeah, the issue is that solar arrays can interfere with radio frequency, and obviously that tower on the back of the building is pretty important, so. Yeah, so.
And just, how would we handle that, with all the donations and whatnot?
Well, if it ends up that the project cannot move ahead because of that, there's two choices. You either thank everybody profusely and return their money, or you send a communication out to each and every person and ask them if you can use it for solar on the library or solar on another town building. And if you can get whoever's permission you can get, yes, then you can keep their donation and the others you'll return.
Just out of curiosity, do we pay interest when we've kept their money for 6 months? You don't know.
Yeah, well, I don't think there's
If
any
we got any
RSA that
interest on it.
says, I think, yeah, in 6 months you're not gonna get any interest, but, in the tax world, yes. If it's an abatement, you certainly give interest, but, there's nothing, I don't think that I've read that says you have to.
I'm just curious.
Yeah,
It's not like a real estate
right, right,
deposit. Okay,
yeah.
so we have, that's interesting about the interference, possible interference. We have Hyperon. What do we have there?
Yes. We have $98,482.
Okay,
Now granted, it'll take a minute, because I haven't opened them up, obviously. Then we have David Webb, Revision Energy.
revision.
We've got a lot of them.
Double wrapped. I have 4.
Just like Christmas, huh?
Jesus.
Dean is enjoying the wrapping paper more than
I love to unwrap things. Okay. Nice. Copper leather,
do have to go home sometime today.
Sorry. There's lots of info in here.
They forgot the number, huh?
They forgot
Adding the bottom
they
line.
forgot
Well-
the end number.
In some sense, the number is is only relevant to the extent that they are willing to address the question of radio frequency interference, so.
Correct.
The
but
number
we didn't
alone
know
doesn't tell
that.
us that, doesn't give us very much,
So when
enough
they
information.
made these bids, did we know that there was a radio frequency interference
So,
potential problem?
yeah, the issue arose when we had a site visit at the fire station, and only 2 of the proposers showed up there, but we discussed it then.
Okay.
And we talked to several others about it as well.
So possibly they gave us a number with some kind of opt-out if there's,
Maybe, I mean, we'll have to read proposals and.
okay.
Ideally, what you would want, I think, would be a bid that says, this is my number, and I guarantee that there, and we're willing to guarantee or indemnify to the extent that there's radio frequency interference, or we promise you there won't be any.
There won't be any, and here's the number, or we'll have to fix it, and here's the other number.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Nina?
Okay, so revision is 91,990.
91990,
Yes.
okay, thank you.
Isn't this a known problem? I mean, wouldn't other installations have come across
So,
Yeah.
police stations and
so
town
Lebanon
offices?
has had a problem, Hanover has not.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's weird because, there's similar situations, PV arrays right next to antenna, so it's something that can happen, it's very hard to detect, and it depends on a variety of factors.
Yeah.
And that makes it difficult, unfortunately, because,
You don't know until you try.
yeah, exactly, and as David mentioned, you'd want to guarantee, but since the whole thing's kind of nebulous, no one wants to guarantee anything probably, so.
Radio is notoriously finicky sometimes, and just,
Well, I've always wondered what that interference is on the, all things considered, when you drive around the back of the post office. There, you all of a sudden,
There's no signal of any sort back there.
there's something interfering, and I always wondered what it was.
yeah, and ironically, I mean, the fire station's right there, if one of the neighbors were to put on a solar array, that could interfere, and there's nothing you can do about that,
There is one right there, Mike Mundy's new house has solar on the roof.
Mhm.
which is apparently not interfering, so.
Not so far.
Well,
There we go.
Okay, ma'am,
that you
what you
know of.
got?
Smart Roof Capital,
Mm-hmm,
and that's 95,400.
mm-hmm.
Probably pretty open. That would be bad.
Well, we could give you a pair of scissors.
Wouldn't be so noisy, would it?
No. To have your Wheaties before you open the
I could
package.
reuse that envelope. Oh, that's a good idea. Okay, Ace Solar. And I don't like to write these long letters. Without the numbers in it.
Well, the number of the last page says you read all.
Yeah. 79,344. Actually, they have 2 options.
Okay,
Oh, 2 different size. Total number of MW of installed capacity, which I'm sure you guys know what that means, I have no clue.
Megawatts.
So,
yeah, so what's the second number?
the second number is 73080.
Dina, would you say that first number again?
79,344. I'll put it in the minutes, so
Yes, right.
you'll have it. Okay. That's it.
That's-
Now, how much of this is new government law pick up as in incentives?
36.
Well, yes, the IRA, if we constructed in 2023, has potential of a 30% direct pay grant, or I guess if, depending on how many of those components are American produced, could go up to 40%. And the committee will take a look at these. The other thing we're doing is trying to see whether there's another building that's away from the tower, far enough to make Aaron feel comfortable, or another piece of property the town owns where we could possibly put a tracker in it, or whether there's even a possibility that somebody in town would donate a piece of a field where we could put this in and still get the group net metering. So lots, unfortunately, a lot more questions, and I will be emailing all the donors in the next 2 days to let them know what we've run into, how we're moving forward.
This for
Well, it's premature too, because maybe one of these bids says, we absolutely guarantee there won't be any radio interference, right? In
Yeah,
which
we'll-
case, we could just move forward.
Right, yeah, we'll need to review those, so is there a way to get copies?
I already talked to Jim,
Okay,
we'll
perfect.
scan them and send them on.
Thank you.
what's the, if this were a private installation or even the town, what's the payback of, these numbers seem quite high to put in solar,
I think
it
it's-
have
Well,
to have a
I think it's
return
like
then.
25 years, it's something like that.
No, no, no.
25-year net cash saving,
Yeah.
is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
A kilowatt, 153,719 it says.
In 25 years.
Yep. That's what this,
I mean, the system that's on the roof here, you could argue has an immediate payback, because the bill savings generated by the system more than offset the payment on the loan. So it's a net cash flow positive arrangement for this system, which didn't benefit from the 30% grant that Jim's talking about, so.
and there's also, this one says a simple payback is 11 years. But there's also the federal one that they calculated at like around 25,000. Then there's a first, well, that's just this company, they give a little incentive too.
So generally, if you're a private person, you borrow money and look at how much money you come to pay your
Right,
note.
Yeah, sure.
right.
Right, and, you know, this system, because it's funded by donations, I mean, it's also an immediate payback for the town,
Right.
no cost.
Yeah, well, I'm just curious about the whole business. So at my age, I'd look at my roofs and say, yeah, they could have solar, but what sense does it make?
Right, in fact, I just got a quote from one of these companies for my house, and it was a 25-year payback. And it's, I'm not gonna live that long. It's just, it's daunting, because as
The
a,
idea is a good one, but it's
it's a
hard
great
for.
one, but it's hard for an individual.
Well, presumably, if electricity prices increase as they are
Well-
projected to do, then that payback would be short.
It might be shorter. In fact, our bill jumped, it doubled.
Yeah,
in
so did
August.
ours. Can we still do the, like we have with this building where, they buy back the extra energy that we produce?
Yeah, and that,
Or we can assign it to another town
Yep.
building's bill, which
Yep.
we do.
yep,
Okay.
and that's our plan, but.
Okay.
It's just-
Okay.
All right. Anything else on this little issue?
I
Well,
wish
thank
it
you
were
guys.
little.
What did
I
you say?
wish it were little,
Yeah.
a little issue.
I wish it were
Maybe you-
easier.
Maybe you guys ought to have an advisory thing for citizens in town, how to deal with these solar issues.
One of our members is going to put together a citizen's guide to the IRA legislation. So here's how you could, because there's all kinds of stuff with weatherization, heat pumps, as well as solar. So he's working on that, so that's a great idea, and we met Monday night, and he proposed that he do the groundwork on that, so we'll
Because you
we'll
might
publish
find you
it.
have quite a few available places to And solar, it could be figured out.
Maybe the feds will pay for your fireplace.
Yeah.
Does the school have capacity?
Well,
It's
the
just
school
solar.
already has a solar
Oh, they
system
do?
up there, and so one of the complications is how do you merge two? So we've got a lot of research to do.
Gotcha.
Very good, thank you, Mr. Brown.
So Judy, yeah, just, what's the process now? So we've opened the bids, we've seen the
Right.
numbers.
Thank you.
Presumably, the Jim and Mark and the Energy Committee is gonna review them and make sure that they're actually proposing something that we might ever wanna buy.
Right,
And then at some point, they make a recommendation back to
Right.
the select board?
Yeah,
right.
Okay, perfect, thank
You
you.
got it.
we have to decide, but we don't know anything, so it's up to these guys.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
we, as we do with many things, we
Sounds
let
great.
the experts give us guidance. So we'll hear from you 2 weeks, a month? When-
Yeah, probably within 2 weeks, I think.
Okay,
I didn't get your name.
I'm Mark Bollinger.
Oh, okay. I heard your name. Not Ben Kill.
I've heard your name too.
Wait to hear from you.
all right, very
Thank
good,
you.
thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
All right,
We
thank you.
appreciate that.
Nothing's ever easy.
No, it's not.
Okay, we have minutes are up next, the September 1st public minutes, and then some non-public session minutes.
As has become my habit, at the absolute 11th hour, I sent Lena some
I sent
11th
it
and a
to-
half hour.
I sent it to him, yeah.
Yes.
Doing a couple of little stylistic edits.
We
and-
seem to be awake at the same time at night.
Well,
10 o'clock.
you guys-
That's the moment where I can no longer procrastinate and
That's
have to
right.
actually.
So if you can guarantee me that they are edits and whatnot, nothing substantial changed, I did not have a chance to read
If
those.
there's anything of substance, it's mostly just stylistic stuff.
Right.
Okay, so for the 9/1 public minutes, who's going to move those?
I'll move.
Okay, David.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ben. Anything else concerning those minutes? If not, I will call for a vote.
Ben, aye.
David,
And Judy, aye, so they are approved. Okay, and then we have some non-public, or do we?
Yeah, there were non-public.
Yeah.
I didn't have
Okay.
anything for those look
No.
fine.
Okay.
Okay, very good. So do you wanna move those?
Sure, I'll move.
Okay, Ben, did you
I'll
wanna
second
second
it.
them? Okay, that sounds good. All those in favor say aye,
David, I.
Ben, aye.
and Judy, aye, so those are approved. And
And there is no manifest. I
excellent.
didn't get, well, there needs to be one. Yeah,
Well,
I just didn't get to it.
okay, well, it's been a busy week.
It's been a crazy week.
Judy,
I really don't wanna wait 2 weeks, so.
all right. So why don't we say that when you get it done, you will send it out and we will individually respond to you and authorize you to, well, we'll come in and sign it. and
Yeah, okay, that'd be
Write the
great.
checks and pay the
Thank
people.
you.
Evie?
I was just hoping that you could adopt a more uniform way to refer to members of the public in your minutes. I noticed the last ones that went online, I'm always referred to by my first name,
Yeah,
whereas.
and I apologize for that. We tried to do a Mr. or Mrs., and I noticed here,
There it is.
I call him Mr. Brown and I call you Hebe, so I apologize for that as well. Trying to be old school formal, and
It just, as
we'll
long
do
as
it
it's.
one way or the other.
Exactly,
Okay.
that's it.
Depends on who's writing them, I
Yes.
think, that's what happens.
Well,
Yes, we have 2 different people in the office
and, yeah,
and then
the
other
rest
people
of us-
that make changes and so they get changed.
And I'll add that to the things that I try to
And-
flag when I review
Right.
and edit.
that'd be
these things.
very good, David, if you could take
I'll
on
try,
that little chore.
Like, when I review them, I see like things like capitalization
Yep.
aren't uniform,
Right.
and there's all kinds of stuff like that that I'm just sort of used to looking for from
And we
reviewing
like
legal
that.
documents.
No, it's
But
good, I
I'll-
try and
I'll
catch
try
it,
to-
but I miss
I'll add
some.
that to the list.
I did become at a national meeting after 5 years of presenting lots and lots. They did start calling me by my first name all the time, but they said in private it was like, more like Cher or Madonna, which I thought was hilarious and a compliment, but you
Well,
know,
it
that
is a
was
compliment.
after some years of being more formally addressed.
Okay, we will look for those. We have some oaths of office for our recently appointed Heritage Commission members.
And you have one more appointment.
Okay, well, let me
If
deal
you
with
would.
these. So we have Adair Mulligan, Ray Clark, Tim Cook, and Lori Wadsworth, and I'm guessing you have the originals there. I'm
I
gonna
do.
shoot.
What about one more on
There's-
this?
She told me to wait a minute.
I did tell
So
you,
I'm
wait
waiting
a
a minute.
minute.
Oh, okay.
All right. Now, Dina and Ben.
Well, you graciously had, Judy Russell came in and was interested in filling the 5th seat. So I asked Patty to prepare this in the hopes that you would approve her.
Okay,
I move that we approve Judy Russ.
I'll second.
all those in favor say aye,
Ben and I.
and Judy aye. And, I noted from reading
You have
the
one.
RSA, we
Or
could
Judy
actually
gets
have a
it.
couple of alternates.
Ben.
Yeah, they can,
And the group could expand in that way,
Yeah.
but,
but now they're full, yay, 5 official members. It's great.
Someone will keep minutes.
I'm hoping somebody will be the minute taker
we
for
have,
them.
we have difficulty with folks doing minutes, nobody really likes to do them. Okay. 4 oaths plus 1, newbie, very good. Then, we have a resolution to enter Primex. Primex is our insurance carrier for the town. And this resolution is pretty short, I think I'll just read it. To hereby accept the offer of the New Hampshire Public Risk Management Exchange, otherwise known as Primex, to enter into its property and liability contribution assurance program as of the date of the adoption of this resolution and be contractually bound to all the terms and conditions of Primex Risk Management Pool membership during the term of the property and liability contribution assurance program. The coverage provided by Primex in each year of membership shall be as then set forth in the coverage documents. So, we have something that needs to be signed, and we need, if you folks are comfortable going with Primex for another year, we need a motion and a second.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ben, thank you, David, is there any discussion?
This is just to continue the insurance carrier that we've had in the past.
It's the same company, but what you guys are doing, just so you're clear, is you're entering in to this particular program that they call CAP. And what that does is it has a couple assurances that comes along with it, that we can be part of the pool, and that we also, they guarantee that there will not be, I think it's 9%, more than a 9% increase.
But this
And
is,
they
we are
require-
part of Primex now,
We are now, this is just to continue.
right?
But this is a little different program. We've been in this program before,
Okay,
and in order to be in it, there's also a few other things we have to do, which has to do with taking workshops but it's all stuff we've been doing for however many years. So this is just your little resolution saying that you wanna continue with them.
that's what I thought, so,
Correct.
to answer his question, yes.
Yes.
How do we wish to vote on this motion? Ben moved, David seconded, all those in favor?
And I.
David, aye.
Judy, aye. Okay, it's approved. Now, there's only a line for one signature. I would
Right.
really, even though they're not additional lines, have the three of us sign this, if that's okay with you?
We can add those lines right in
Okay,
to the, official one here.
okay. That sounds good. So that needs a signature. And then, the 2022 review of assessing documentation continues.
That's just a FYI, really, community action report, it's called, that we got from the DRA. It just talks about the fact that they've come, the two people that came, they reviewed all of our exemptions and credits, our religious charities, our educational exemptions, current use. They're checking up on us to make sure that we have all the correct documentation. So it just says what day they were here and what they did.
Okay. So we don't need to do anything with that.
No.
Excellent, we like those.
Yeah.
So we also have a petition for a license, a utility pole conduit from Lyme Fiber.
Mhm.
And, let's see, Lyme Fiber, and they're requesting a license to erect, install, and thereafter maintain poles, structures, and/or conduits, together with wires, cables, and associated sustaining, strengthening, and protecting fixtures. And it's supposed to say where it's going, and it doesn't, and then it says it's an underground conduit on the west side of River Road to the town line. And this is probably in your packet of materials,
It
but
is.
you wanna see it?
Yeah.
And Scott has
Scott has a
met
comment
with
on
them, and he has signed it and added a little, I don't know if that was on the copy, oh, it is, good, okay. About, they're gonna be following the utility line that's already there.
Okay.
So where is this?
River Road.
It's down on River Road on the other side of the covered bridge, the Orford side of the covered bridge.
Okay, and what do we do? I'm sorry.
They're putting in underground conduit, so they have to get a license from the town.
And that's just so, because they don't want the poles overhead, or they think it looks
Well,
nice?
from, there are some poles there, but from the poles to the house, it's underground.
They need a license from the town to do that?
Yeah, cause we tax them on all these lines, so that's how.
But but the underground part of it itself is on private property, right?
Some of it's in our road side.
Right of way.
Right of way,
Oh, I see.
right.
So what do we wish to do with this?
Wanna look at this one?
I have it.
Yeah, so if you
Yeah.
open it up, it shows you the,
Just gotta get the one that I signed.
That's coming, I just handed it to Judy.
Ben signed this one?
No, he
Oh,
wants to
it's
sign
gone.
It needs to be signed,
David's
well,
gonna
I
sign it.
don't think any of us will sign it until we have some action on it. Are we approving?
I'll move it.
You'll move it.
I'll
Thank you,
second
David. Thank you, Ben. All those in favor say aye.
Then
David, I.
Judy, aye.
You guys
Okay.
are making her work too
You
hard this
are.
morning, so pay
Just,
attention.
Dina, just for my
Yes,
own
sir.
edification, is that if somebody wants to put their electric lines underground coming to their house as opposed to on the poles, is that,
they're going across our property.
If they're going across the town's property, yes, like if the phone company has to put in a new pole, they have to get one of these.
all right.
Everybody, any new pole, any underground conduit, all that.
But, and are the utility companies generally willing to do that? If somebody wants to underground their,
Well, that's how they make their money.
so they charge the homeowner or the property
Yes.
owner to do
Yes.
that?
Yes.
And it's the property owner who says, I don't like these things hanging out, they get knocked down by trees, I wanna put them underground and I'll pay for it.
Right, and then the electric company's engineer will come up with a plan and they'll send us stuff for whatever permit they need for whichever area.
And one of the things, just as an aside, that we've noticed is the more or less major utilities, they really don't like undergrounding power. So
Why is that? Just because it's harder to service and,
I think it's hard to service, there should be less service needed, but
Well, one would think, I remember when they undergrounded all the telephone lines and stuff, it turned out to be a disaster. Water got in all the
if
time.
water gets in, it's bad, but if it, theoretically, when done well, it should be less or more resistant to weather than when they're exposed and they get iced up and they break and stuff like that. Yeah, they just really are hesitant to do it.
Yeah,
And
I
I
could see
should-
somebody drive a tractor into one of those things, you'd have a big problem.
Well, there's
Yeah.
often something that comes up above the ground. that can
Yeah.
damage.
I should also say that this is new for you guys, this is the first time we've used this actual permit, and it all has to do with the public hearing we had about the utilities and just a little while ago. It was allowing us to switch to this particular permit, which actually goes up and gets recorded in Grafton.
Oh, that's
and-
good, so people can see it.
And so now it's enabling towns to track stuff better and
Interesting,
Okay,
thank you.
well, we have another thing that actually didn't make it onto the agenda. Which I wanna do before the budget discussion, but first let's go on and talk about the MS1. Dina, can you update us? We just got updated information this morning.
I can do my best.
Okay,
So you guys have that.
this is the updated information that's in the packet that just came to us this morning.
Correct.
Where do you want us to sign on this anyway?
Is that fine?
Yeah, just sign above your name,
Oh,
and then each one of you can, sorry. I'm sorry, I'm like totally lost here this morning trying to grab myself.
Then,
So, now that we have our, data correct, we had a little snafu when we switched over from Vision 6 to Vision 8, something that carried over.
A software switchover.
Right, the software. So, the first one that I gave you guys was incorrect. One you got today is correct. So, I don't know what you want me to do, Judy, whether you want me to go through the numbers really quick, or.
Well, what I would love is for you to just give a couple of highlight numbers that seem to be the critical numbers.
I don't
And,
have it to my phone.
well, here, do you wanna look at mine?
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Jeez, for some reason, my packet's not here. Okay, so. The town ended up picking up 5.1 million, but then after you add in the exemptions, well, you add them in, you take them out, it ends up being just over a $3 million increase
In value for the town.
in value.
Before we get into the numbers, can you give us, or give me, the newbie on the board, the 2-minute explanation of what this is and what it does?
Okay, the MS1 form is a inventory of the town's property valuations. So it includes all your land, all your buildings, all your utilities, all that. Then it also includes exemptions, credits, veterans stuff, all the utilities, which some utilities are taxed differently than other utilities. And so it comes down to your end result, which is your total dollar amount of exemptions, your net valuation of the whole town, then less the utilities, then you have your valuation, which is actually used to set your tax rate.
So this gets sent to the DRA and they use it to determine the tax rate based on.
Correct, when you guys go or work with them in October to set the tax rate, this is one of the
Thank you, Dee.
factors that gets put into it. Okay? So your net valuation is $410,827,600.
Okay, one more time, a little bit slowly, 410.
410,827,600.
827,600,
Yes.
thank you.
So that's about 400 grand off the number that, on the forms that we got.
In assessed value, yes, in
Net value.
in the net value.
The earlier
correct.
forms were draft that
Yeah.
hadn't been finalized.
Right, I hadn't, you know, the information had been added in, but it didn't, we needed to fix, there were three properties that had a software snafu with vision. So Jordan worked with them for, a long time
Most of the
yesterday.
day yesterday.
Getting that straightened out, and then Todd did his thing at 5 o'clock this morning, and was able to.
It sounds like, are you comfortable, it sounds like a lot of this is last minute, are you comfortable that this is now right, or do we need to take another day or two to just go over it and double check it?
I'm comfortable that it's right, because I've gone over every little thing and compared it from the last one to the new one and to what changed, and,
Okay.
but I'm happy to wait if you guys wanna tentatively vote it, and you wanna
We
look at
could
it more.
conditionally
and
vote
then-
it
right.
and then come in and sign it,
I mean,
but
Judy, I don't, like, I could look at this till now,
Yeah.
until the cows come home, I'm not gonna be able to tell
Right.
anything. I mean, this really requires someone who's familiar with,
And I can vouch for the fact that Jordan and Dina worked on it all day yesterday. I've worked on it 2 or 3 times. I'm not an expert at it either, but I can add and subtract, and I could see where there were holes that weren't lining up, which is because it was a draft.
Right,
We don't have much of a choice, but
and Todd has reviewed it. and-
again,
for,
and it seems to me that
But
as
we
a
could
select
get-
board, really what our job is to make sure that we have people with appropriate expertise who are
Correct.
reviewing these documents and get their confirmation that they're comfortable with the document.
and if you wanted to wait, for instance, we could say tentatively or conditionally approve it. We would like to give Todd and Dina one more day to re-review it for like the 10th time, and we'll come in tomorrow and
10th
sign it unless they find something.
Well, this comes up every year.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's
this is
fairly
the
traditional.
first year, if we hadn't gotten the draft that wasn't finalized, I don't think we'd be having this discussion,
no,
because that showed some gaps. But, I'm willing to do,
If Dina says she's comfortable and Todd's comfortable and Jordan's comfortable, then I'm happy to move it forward and sign it.
okay,
I wouldn't, it wouldn't trouble me at all if you took one last final look at it after we've signed it, and if you identify problems, you could come back to us and say, hey, I found something,
Right.
and then we could amend our action, but that way it's kind of done, and
well, and if it makes you feel any better, number one, it gets submitted to the DRA and they review it, and if they see something, like a much higher number or a bigger difference, they're gonna call us right up and go, okay, what's going on? So, you know, they don't just accept it and
and one of
move
the
on.
things that's helpful, I think at least it was for me, is to have last year's, which has already gone through the process, we set the tax rate based on it, and to lay them both out side by side and look at this year's and say, okay, this is where the changes were, and it kinda makes sense, being
Right.
not an expert in that field,
Right,
but
well, and that's why I put the comparison
Right.
from this year to last.
So, if you are comfortable and you wanna move it,
I'll move it.
okay,
I'll second it.
okay, thank you. All those in favor say aye,
And
David, all
and Judy, aye, and Dina, take a look again when it's quiet,
Yeah,
5 AM. And
So-
let us know if there's anything tomorrow sometime, otherwise we're
Okay.
gonna assume it's all set to go.
okay,
So we got this
Thank you.
material from, I'm
Mr.
sorry,
Bigelow.
Mr. Bigelow this
Mhm.
morning,
John
which is
Bigelow.
kind of interesting, it's an interesting
Yeah.
analysis. I wonder if it might be possible to get Todd to take a look at this.
I was gonna say, that was the first thing I thought of, I'm gonna send it to Todd,
And
yeah,
get
yeah,
his thoughts. I mean,
right.
this is it's hard to,
Well, you don't know what's in current use, what's not in current use, what's sold for what, because you don't know if it's an arm length
yeah,
sale.
there may be
you don't-
explanation for
There's
this.
many variables that could
Well, and
explain
also,
a lot of that.
even if it were to be exactly correct, what you would expect would be 2 lines that get closer together as they approach 0, which is what this graph shows. The question is, how much should that spread be? And that's not
Right.
intuitive to me, what it ought to look like.
Right,
And maybe Todd, who has
Right.
more of a statistical, technical ability,
Right.
could talk to us about that, or could look at this and say, either it's wrong, either it's it's distorted
It's
because of
skewed
X,
because
Y,
of
Z,
this, right.
or it's correct, but that's what it should be.
Right, yeah.
Right, thanks.
Well, it's interesting, sorry, I was just gonna give an example on a sale of a house.
It was nice of Mr. Bigelow to do this, it represents a lot
Oh,
of
I
work.
think
and
it's great, it's
and
interesting.
The curb in there may be the current use land,
Well, I think it might have something to do with it, but without knowing how he did it or where he got his numbers or what his numbers actually
I
are.
just got sent something from Landvest on the sale of Frida's old house, which is the
Yeah.
$1.6 million
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
And,
Oh, yeah, I got that too.
yeah, and it,
Looked like a nice house.
yeah, it's all been
Right.
redone, and I
Right.
don't know if she
Right.
had it
Right.
done up like that, but it's a nice piece of land, nice views, and probably quite a bit of land, which is all likely in current use.
mhm.
That's an interesting, I hadn't thought about that, that could distort or
Yeah.
could
Oh, the
affect
refuse could
the
definitely
spread of those
distort.
curves too.
Well, I think the data is appraised value, so if you took the current use out, then you would be wanting to apply assessed value. The appraised value is the higher of the two numbers.
I believe that's
don't know
right.
what it is.
Anyway, it bears looking at again,
Yeah,
getting
I
response.
think he had, wasn't there a table of the actual properties?
Yeah, there is.
So you-
Okay, thank you. So, as I
Do my best
alluded
to slow
to,
you down.
that's all right, I'm on a roll. It's the time of year, it's fall, we'll be going into another assessing year soon. Our current contract will be up at the end of this calendar year. Dana and I were chatting yesterday, and we think we need to put out an RFP generally for an assessor for the town. And I just wanted a heads up that this is in no way related to any specific comments or thought processes, but it's the time of year to get it done. And so folks may see that, or they may not see it, but let it be known that we're gonna write an RFP for the town's assessing contract. Just as we do with the lawn care folks and all the other contracts we have, when they come up for renewal several months before, we put out an RFP.
it's just a good thing to do.
Yep, and, I really gotta move along.
How long, quick question, how long are these contracts
Sorry,
typically?
We're moving along,
Okay,
really, I gotta do that. Thank you, Dina, for returning this to me, that makes more sense. And we are a few minutes behind, but we want now to move into our budget, a very, very preliminary budget discussion. Before we go into non-public, you all, I think everybody got a
Do you guys
copy?
need copies of the budget? I didn't bring them.
I did not.
I don't think so, let me grab Jordan real quick. I don't have mine.
Oh,
I
okay.
do, but it's in the printer, I think.
Okay.
Excuse
so,
me, I'm sorry.
Michael, you're late.
Yes, I have an appointment.
Since we have time I didn't expect us to have right now, Rich, your quick question?
typically, how long are the contracts with the assessor?
It can be 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. So, I'm not aware of how they typically are. This particular one was for 1 year.
Okay,
And-
Thank you.
And typically, we don't have a lot of
He's
choice,
been-
there's not a bazillion assessors out there.
well, I realize that.
He's been, here for 3 or 4 years,
Okay.
so.
So in this particular case, it's been a 1-year contract that you continue to renew.
Yep,
Okay,
And this is the first time Todd has handled the 5-year reassessment.
yes, that's correct.
And interestingly enough, there's never any questions about the lawn care cemeteries.
About the what?
About
Lawn
lawn
care.
care of the cemeteries or
Yeah.
the assessors.
Recreation fields.
They were in my printer, so sorry.
Jim, just in a moment, well, do you wanna touch base with me afterwards, sometime the end of the next few days about
Thank you, Dina.
the meeting for next week?
Yes.
We can have an informal chat about what your thoughts are.
Okay. Right here. I am going to take Friday and Saturday and Sunday to work on some much needed home projects.
Sure.
So it'll probably be Monday.
That's
but
great.
It might be before then if I have a
I
quiet
mean, the
time to
meeting's
sit down.
Wednesday, and it really doesn't take a ton of planning.
No, I know, and I was planning on doing it myself as it is a select board meeting, even though it's informal, so, but I will definitely get.
Yeah,
it
no,
to
I would
you.
just, I wouldn't step in your way, I would just facilitate.
Okay, budget. We have,
Geez, there's a lot of numbers on
there are a lot of numbers, well, a good, yes.
They're just
okay.
like last.
A good thing to look at, we have, in the total budget, we have about 40% left for the next 3 months, which is just about perfect. We'll probably have some winter storms, we'll have some other events, but unless there's some major problem, we should be able to squeak through. This is the time of year that we always get to that point. But we were also, last night was our first budget committee meeting, we're also getting to where we're prepping to present the select board budget in 4 weeks to the budget committee. So we need to think about, we know the cost of electricity is up, the cost of propane and gasoline and diesel.
everything. I mean, we're running at 10% inflation, really, so.
And Social Security is estimating somewhere between 8 and 10%. The last actual number I saw was 9.6% increase. So we have traditionally tried to meet either the New England CPI or Social Security. They are usually similar but not the same. In years where it's been 0, we've always given all staff at least a 2% raise, I believe. I hope at least a 2% raise. But, so that's something we need to think about and we need to work through. Hello.
Thank you very, very much.
Excellent. So, one of the things that I would like to see, I know that the folks that get, it's called a salary, it's really a stipend, like our road agent, and, there are a couple others. And it's $2,000 or $3,000.
Oh, I have this, I think.
I think that should go
You
up.
do, oh, from last night you have
From
it.
last night I do, yeah.
Well, you do want to look at it now.
They do work that needs to be
Thank you.
increased. We know, we've heard from the highway guys and the forest fire folks, I think they're gonna be wanting some fairly big ticket items, we need to think about how we're gonna feel about that. And last night at the budget committee meeting, they did reference, the good old days when we never financed anything, and then in the last 5 or 10 years, borrowing money was cheaper than taking money out of an investment account,
Right.
so we did finance a few things.
Oh, town meeting finance is huge.
Right.
Yes, we did, we asked to
You
have them
suggested it.
financed. So one of the takeaways, another takeaway from last night was that we're going to update the big spreadsheet. Dina has her work cut out for her coming
Capital
up.
reserve fund.
Capital reserve and trust funds, and that's where we show all the equipment and when it gets replaced and the estimated cost for replacement. And each year we have warrant articles to put money into those funds. What else, Dina? It wasn't that late a night, but
No, it wasn't,
falling on the tails of town meeting and everything else,
right.
it's been a long week.
Well, and it's hard to really have a constructive conversation because you haven't, you don't really have
We
any
haven't-
new 2023
Yeah.
info yet. But yeah, I mean, I just think, I can't even figure the employee stuff yet because I don't know
Well, that's
whether you
one of
guys
our
are gonna
first
go
things,
with
we need to
5,
go
10.
with some kind of a number in there, and,
I don't know, I was trying to look to see what it said.
I think it's 9.6, but it may have changed.
It was, but it might have changed, yeah, and social security's always different than CPI.
Yes, I think last year and the year before we went with social security. And, so, I don't know.
January, February.
CPI usually comes out in October, so we probably don't have that number yet. Social security comes out a little earlier. So, and I think you folks got handed the budget, that was printed for last night. You will notice that the highway, this year's mud season took a big impact. We had budgeted just shy of 58,000 and spent about 84,000, those are rough numbers. That's line 190 on page 6. So that's probably one of the biggest jumps, and we have seen propane jump, you'll see it in that same category. But they still have 31% of their regular budget left, and they go into their winter budget, is it October 1st or November 1st?
November 1st.
November 1st.
So just November and December, those 2 months, you have for the winter budget left.
On the, we spend a lot on the mud season, but the reality is
Right.
that, that money may well pay off in the next mud season.
Right.
Because the roads were
They-
treated, much better
That's
Right.
right.
than putting a layer of gravel down that will
Hold.
carry over to the next year to
Right.
alleviate mud.
Right.
Thank you, Ben, that's good to remember.
I mean, I think fuel, you know,
Yeah.
motor fuel.
Motor fuel,
Motor fuel.
Well, and propane.
Heat, right. Motor
Yes.
fuel and heat are both the ones that have me.
Yep.
But, again, you have 30% left in your summer budget and you only have 5 weeks left,
Yeah.
6 weeks, so you
so I,
should be fine.
as I said, I think we don't have a lot of fluff in here, but, and we never, as long as I have been doing this, there's usually a tiny bit left, except for the one year that Dick and I were trying to think if we were going to have to open up our wallets to help. It was really, really close, but, they're close budgets,
Yeah, they should be, that's
and they
right.
should be,
Your
so.
auditor loves to see that.
I don't know if there's much else to say right now, but I would like you guys to keep looking, cause I think next meeting, we need to take another session and really try and hammer out some of these items, so we can start, we'll need to run salaries and payroll and benefits, and we need to look, again, as I said, the, some of the, what I would not call salary, but the stipends, they're pretty low and haven't gone up in years and years.
I just looked, the August CPI is 8.3,
Okay,
8.3%.
I think that's understated, actually.
Yeah, well, they were projecting 9.6, like Judy said.
yeah. So I wonder if you could run, this would be scary numbers, an increase of, how about an increase of 8.5 and an increase of 9? Maybe an increase of 10? I can't believe it.
9.5.
9.5,
Okay, so 8.5 and 9.5.
sure. Just so we can all have heart attacks at one time
Okay.
and then move along.
Get it over with, right?
Look, the last thing we need to do is underpay people so they leave.
No, we can't. It's
I
hard
mean,
enough
it's a
to get employees, and these
Brutally
guys are
tight job
great.
market right now.
Yep,
Right,
Anyone who's any good can jump to some other place and get a signing bonus.
Yeah.
Well, we don't need to lose talent.
and we do have, I could have said this last night, I didn't, but the employees that are here are good, steady workers, they know their jobs. We don't seem to have any of the unrest that there might have been in past years, or there could be, given the way everything is right now, so we certainly wanna take care of folks.
I agree with that.
No,
Okay.
As far as I know, everybody's happy.
Yeah,
You know, it's-
Touch
You
wood.
Except
haven't
for-
asked me.
Except for Dina, I was just finishing
Are
my
you kidding me?
sentence.
I'm always happy.
Okay.
And I should have the insurance numbers, in a few weeks too, so,
Okay, maybe-
well, maybe 3 weeks.
Oh, that's too bad, if we could have
It's
them for
usually in
us.
October, I know, they have their meeting in October, but, sometimes they can give me a heads up of, or not me, but everyone, a heads up of
What they think it's gonna be.
it's gonna be.
That would be good, and so that takes us back to the MS1 and the setting of the tax rate. When we get that sent in, then we get in the queue for the tax rate getting set,
Right.
hopefully in October, if possible.
Probably, yeah, it depends. We'll get in there, and then we have to wait for the school to get all their stuff in too. And generally, by the end of October, we can get that tax rate.
So it's a double whammy, we get the tax rate and we start working on the budget.
Yeah, I like to think we can have our bills out, you know, by November 5th or so at the latest, because
Yeah.
then it turns it around in those 30 days and it's not Merry Christmas.
Yeah, I
Your
know,
tax
last
bills
year
due.
was yeah, that's hard. All right, unless David or Ben have anything, let us scooch along, and I believe we have 2 non-publics coming up, one under legal and one under reputation, and I will move for us to go into non-public session under RSA 91A, 91A:3, Roman numeral 2, little letter L for legal.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Ben. All those in favor say aye.
Ben,
And Judy, aye. And thank you, Ms. Quindon.
See you later.
Mr. Brown and Mr.
Thank you all.
Whitman.
You.